There in Proverbs 4:23, we have this little gem. 4:23 Proverbs says, "Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." And you might think, why do I need to keep my heart? Who's after my heart? Well, we know that according to the Bible, Satan walks about as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. But I thought to myself, we're innocent. We don't try to look for trouble. We're trying to stay out of trouble. What would bother us? So it made me think about my telephone. I get phone calls almost every day, family, friends. I bought a smartphone a few years ago, and so it has caller ID. And so if someone calls who's on my contact list, there's their name. I see them. Well, wonderful. Legitimate businesses, somehow or another, they have an identification tag on their phone calls. So if I get a call from a real estate agent or Punky's Diner, shows up on my phone. But I have a couple of friends that their number, it doesn't show up. Their number doesn't show up, but their title does. And my two friends are suspected spam and potential fraud. Almost every day. A couple of times today, 3 or 4 times yesterday. Potential fraud, suspected spam. I thought about that, and I thought to myself, why are they bothering me? I'm not bothering them. Right. Why are they bothering me? So I just for the fun of it, looking up suspected spam, potential fraud. I think if you got an iPhone, it's called potential spam. They combine them. But in this last April, there were over 3 billion phone calls, suspected spam calls in the United States. 3 billion. That's more people that are in the United States. I think they said that's more people in the United States, China, and the entire continent of Africa combined. And that's just in 1 month. The number of spam calls that go forward. And you might say, well, why? Why would they do such a thing? Well, according to the statistics, they generate a return every year around $6 billion. Spam calls come to you, and they're more than just irritating. They're people who are after your identity. They're after your driver's license. They're after your Social Security. They're after your bank accounts. Whatever they can get from you, they're not nice people. Right. That's the point. There's people who will seek you out, even though you're just minding your own business, doing your own thing. There's people who will seek you out, seek out your phone number, and try to take advantage of you. To the tune of millions and millions of dollars. That this last year, more than 26 billion spam calls around the world. 43 million Americans were scammed, and Americans lost $10.5 billion this last year. It's a big business. You might say, what has that got to do with anything? Well, guard your heart, because there are situations, things, we may feel that we're just minding our own business, just trying to do what's right, but there's an adversary that is making a deliberate effort to try to get a hold of us, try to fool us, try to sell us on something that's not all that it's made up to be, trying to get us to buy in to a product or a service that's going to leave us empty, that's going to leave us holding the bag, that's going to leave us wishing we had never talked to him. Well, how do you handle a spam call? The best way to handle it is not answer it. I believe I have yet to answer my friend's suspected spam or my friend potential fraud. I have not yet answered. There have been some times where they've slipped through and get the phone call and you'll hear silence on the other end. Have you ever done that? You pick it up and you say hello. Nobody answers right away. Clear sign that you're being a part of a robocall or some kind of a call center. Click them off. Click them off. Don't even give them the time of day. There's legitimate businesses. I'm not trying to be too hard on people making cold calls and trying to generate legitimate business. But when it comes to our soul, when it comes to our heart, we want to be very, very careful. It says, Proverbs 4:23, keep thy heart with all diligence, to guard our heart, to preserve our heart, to defend our heart, to defend that part of us, the heart, that inner man, that inner person of who God created us to be, and thank God if we're saved, who God has redeemed us to be. That thing on the inside that generates our heart, that generates our memories, our appetites, our ideas, our inclinations, those things that are unique to us. And we need to guard that. We need to protect that. We need to keep it with all diligence. All means everything. The whoever, whatever, however, whatever it takes, everything to guard our hearts. Just like made me think of the jailer in the Philippian jail when Paul and Silas were in there. He was guarding those prisoners. And when the earthquake came and the doors were thrown open, he was ready to take his life. He was ready to forfeit his life. He thought, the prisoners have gone. And it's my life at stake, but of course we know that Paul and Silas said, do thyself no harm. And we're all here, and the Lord wonderfully saved him. But just like a jailer guards his prison, just like a soldier guards the gate of the city wall, diligent. Right. We need to be on top of things. We need to be aware of the things of this world that will try to fluster us, slow us down, cause us to take a side road or cause us to go off on a tangent. We need to be very, very careful. Sure. Because out of our heart come the issues of life. Mm-hmm. Jesus said, out of the heart comes all the good things or all the bad things, depending on where your heart is. Right. He says, out of the good treasure of the heart, a man bringeth forth good things. Yeah. We want to make sure our heart is filled with good things. The issues of life are like the perimeters, the borders of who we are and the things that make us up. Those things that we stay within, the lines that are drawn in our life, where we say, we're not going to cross over there. I know that, when you're in the middle of something, is not the time to decide whether you're for it or you're against it. I mean, when someone, I remember people coming to me, you need to try it. You need to try it. How do you know if you're going to like it if you don't try it? Have you ever heard that? Something like that? Come to the party where, mom and dad's gone. Come to and You'll have fun. How do you know if you don't give it a try? Well, let's use that logic in a few other places. Poison mushrooms. How do you know they're poisonous if you don't give it a try? You know, how if falling out of an airplane, how do you know you're going to die if you don't give it a try? It doesn't hold water. You need to say, no, I've made up my mind that I want to keep my heart. I want to keep it pure. I don't want to get filthy or dirty or encumbered with the things of this life. I want it to be exactly the way God has for me. Out of the heart are the issues of life. Life, that thing that gives us that spark, that thing that gives us that renewal, that revival, that thing that energizes us to be what God wants us to be. I remember being all wrapped up in the things of this world back before I got saved, doing things that you shouldn't do, and involved in things shouldn't be involved with, and it robbed me. It robbed me of opportunities to actually have an enjoyable, productive, contributing lifestyle. And it makes me think of the piano thing there. I started when I was 18 years old, after I got saved. The interest was always there, the desire was always there, but I was encumbered with the things of this world. I was burdened down looking for the next good time, the next fun event, the next thing that, next pill that came through town or whatever it was, looking for and it robbed me. Those things, that lifestyle robbed me of the opportunity to, when I was younger, to do something that was not only enjoyable, but profitable and good. I wasn't keeping my heart. The idea is that above all, we guard a lot of things in our life. We do. We have custody of various things. I was thinking of the little dog that we have in our household, and he's my responsibility. I need to take care of him, and he's under my custody. I don't let him go out and play in the road. That would not be good for him. You feel like it sometimes, but you don't. You don't let it happen. You have to take care of the little guy. And so I was out in the backyard the other day cleaning the barbecue, and I was in a hurry because we were going to use it, of course, which is the only reason why you clean it. It's because you're ready to use it again. And I was scraping off all the burnt fat, that drips down on the pan and just charcoalizes, and scrape it off, and I put it off on the side there, and of course, then you do your thing, and you cook and you forget, and then I let the dog out. Well, the dog has a nose, and sniffed around and found that pile of charcoal, grease, burnt stuff, and couldn't resist it. Just couldn't resist it. Well, later on that night, she couldn't retain it either. And we were at we have a cover on the couch. But there's a little spot the cover doesn't quite reach. And of course, that's where the dog decides to. If we were in medieval times, I'd call her Sir Barf-a-lot, is what I would, because there she goes. But whose fault is it? The dog? No, not the dog's fault. It's my fault. Dog can't help it. It's my responsibility to keep custody of that dog and to protect the little guy, to make sure that he doesn't get into things he shouldn't get into, do things that he shouldn't do, go places he shouldn't go. That's the same way with our heart. We want to keep our heart. We want to guard it. We have custody. God gave us that in this life for us to cherish and to protect. If we value something, we don't treat it with neglect. We don't treat it with loose hands. We treat it carefully and respectfully and protectively. Because that's our responsibility. And it's the same thing with our heart. God has given us a heart. God has given us an inner man, an inner person. That's something that is us, unique to us and to us alone. And God gave it to us. And He gave it to us so that we would protect it and guard it and keep it with all diligence, because out of it are the issues of life. Above all else, above everything that you guard your heart. God gives us conditions in His Word that He wants us to follow. He expects us to follow. He told the children of Israel, if you do what I tell you to do, you'll be blessed. Don't forget them. Rehearse them. Rehearse them to your children, to your children's children. Think about these things. Make sure that you do them. We can't control what comes our way. Robocalls, spam calls, potential fraud. We can't control that. But we can control how we respond to those things. There will be trials and challenges and tribulations coming our way, temptations, and we can't control all those. Sometimes we can, but many times we can't. But we can control what we do with them, where we go with them, whether we allow them to come into our hearts. We can choose to obey God. We can choose to do the things that are right. Jude 21 says, keep yourselves in the love of God. How do we keep ourselves? We keep ourselves we can't keep ourselves in our own strength, of course not. But with God's love and His grace, He can keep us. He can give us the strength. We have an opportunity every day to follow God. We have an opportunity to follow His directions, to follow His admonitions, and if we do, God will give us the grace and strength to be successful. We'll have a time to pray. 506 is the song, but let's come out with a purpose in our heart. We're going to do what it takes to keep our hearts with all diligence.